This episode is sponsored by Wondrium. Stick around till the end of the video to learn more about it. Hello, brains. What's working memory? I forgot. Working memory, noun, is our ability to hold information temporarily in our head while we work with it for a short period of time. In computer terms, it's kind of like our RAM. It's where we store information we're actively working with, either by remembering it, often while paying attention to something else, or doing something with it. We use working memory for things like remembering a number while we look for a pen to write it down, doing math in our head, or remembering what we just read. Everyone's working memory has limits. We all just get a few slots, and the information in those slots goes away pretty quickly if we don't keep thinking about it, to make space for new information. Which is fine. Most of the information we think about in a day, we don't actually need to remember long term. And if we do need to remember it, we can save it to our hard drive through techniques like studying. While our long-term memory, or hard drive, is typically just fine, working memory is often impaired in ADHD. We essentially get fewer slots, especially when it comes to verbal/auditory working memory, which includes things like reading or remembering what someone said. This is why we get a lot of comments of, "Did anybody else need to rewind this video?" Understandably, this can interfere with our ability to encode information into long-term storage, so we can remember it later. It can also interfere with simple everyday tasks like answering a question a teacher just asked. As an example, let's say this neurotypical student has a working memory capacity that allows her to temporarily hold on to 4 pieces of information, essentially 4 slots. And this student with ADHD has 3. Now imagine the teacher asks a question followed by 3 possible answers. The neurotypical student might be able to answer the question no problem. But by the time the teacher got to the 3rd possible answer, the ADHD student already forgot the question. Even if our working memory isn't impaired, our difficulty with attention regulation means the information in those slots can get kicked out a lot more easily as we start attending to other thoughts. And even if we have the same working memory capacity and we manage to ignore that thought that popped into our head so we can stay focused, those with ADHD have to spend more effort actively directing their attention and actions than their neurotypical peers, which means we're taking up working memory slots for things like remembering to sit still. None of these situations are because we aren't smart or aren't trying hard enough. It's about working memory. This is why lists and planners are often recommended for those with ADHD. Not because it's easy for us to use them, but so we can save our working memory slots for information we're actively working with, rather than taking them up with things we just don't want to forget. It's also part of why we need to turn off notifications and put away distractions, so stuff doesn't take up working memory that doesn't need to. So if you're a teacher, you probably have students in your class who struggle with working memory, so it can really help to write the questions on the board. If your friend writes something down while you're talking, that might not be them not paying attention. It might be them clearing their working memory so that they can focus on what you're saying. And now that I understand my working memory is quite impaired, I often ask a friend things like, "My working memory sucks. Can you read me this card number while I type it in?" Working memory is just one of the executive functions that can be impaired in ADHD. For more, check out this playlist. So remember when I spoke about the Great Courses Plus and it was really great? Well, it got even better. It's now called Wondrium, and it's basically designed for curious brains like ours. From how-tos, tutorials, documentaries, and so much more, Wondrium is where you can find the answer to pretty much everything you've ever wondered about. It's a subscription-based streaming service, and they're constantly adding new stuff. I love their content because it's presented by experts, thoroughly researched, which you know I care about, and carefully curated, so I know the info is good. And their new look makes it even easier to find what I'm looking for, whether that's courses I'd found on the Great Courses Plus or something new. I've been taking this course on learning piano, and it's been great because I moved recently, life got busy, and I had to stop for a while. But now that I'm settled, I can pick right back up where I left off, jump right back into class, and still have the same professor, which is incredibly ADHD friendly. I can even reprint the textbook, which is good since I definitely don't remember where I put it. I love the flexibility of being able to take full courses as well as just learn about whatever I'm curious about that day. Recently, I watched a lesson on the science of cooking because I have never really understood how to turn food into food, and I learned why sauces thicken as they cook. I had always kind of assumed it's because the heat is making the water in the sauce evaporate, but it's actually because there are compact starch granules in the flour, and heat and water makes those starch granules expand, kind of like my mind after watching that video. Wondrium is offering a free trial right now, and they're regular supporters of this show. So by supporting them, you're also supporting us. If you'd like to try it out, go to wondrium.com/howtoadhd or click on the link in the description below to start your free trial today. And remember, you don't have to learn all of the things at once. it'll still be there next week. Thank you to my brain advocates and all my Patreon brains for making episodes like this possible. If there's an ADHD-related term you'd like to see me define, leave it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and I will see you next video. Bye, brains!